Welcome to our world. Won't you come on in? Waiting just for you. Welcome to our world.
I'm going to be sniffling and sneezing more than usual today
Why?
because I have a cold.
And
I have a cold or I have COVID again. I'm not sure.
you didn't have COVID the last time.
But that was just the last time. I've had COVID a few times in the past, as
You have.
it's been medically documented,
All I'm going to say is
tested.
I was sick last week.
You
so
were?
I probably got you sick. Yeah, note how you say you were? Because you had no idea. Because I didn't talk about it every 5 seconds. Though I do remember last week that I did say, because my voice sounded kind of weird, and I did say on the podcast, if I sound weird, it's because I'm sick. So I mentioned it on the podcast, but that wasn't planned. So I'm glad that you said that all on your own accord. You were the shock because there was nothing that I did that would have made you think constantly that I was ill. That's all I was going to say.
Oh, I don't feel so
This
bad.
is the end.
I think I have to lay down.
All right, well, it's a good thing I'm going to do most of the talking today then.
Okay, good.
Well, so this is one of those things where I'm going to be reading some stuff and just getting your opinion and viewpoint on things, right?
Okay, if I fall asleep, it won't be because I'm not interested. It will be because I have a cold.
You do?
I have. Yeah. And also, I enabled snore detection on my watch. So I want to see how much I snore.
You snore a lot.
Actually, I have a record from the first night.
You snore so much.
I have a record last night of how much I snored. But since I have a cold, I'll be snoring more than even I normally would.
God help us all.
Okay.
I need someone familiar with Jim and his snoring and his
sniffling
illnesses and his talk of his illnesses I need to get your opinions on this.
I have to clear my throat.
Caitlin, Eric, could you please verify that is super dramatic and also snores really loud? Thanks.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so today we will be doing, did you take Dayquil or anything?
I can't.
Oh, why not? Why not?
Because I can't. Because
anyway.
I take warfarin.
Okay.
Okay, so, look it up. That's not just
I
me
know.
complaining.
I'm just saying it's so funny.
I can basically take Tylenol with it.
You didn't get my Judge
pretty
Judy
much
reference.
Any other... Hold on. You have to back up a minute then.
No, I won't.
Pretty much anything other than Tylenol. And even that I didn't take for a couple years because I wanted to verify that it was okay to take. My throat hurts. Not really bad now.
Enough to talk about yourself.
No, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anymore when I talk than when I don't. I also think I bit the back of my tongue yesterday.
Gosh. Okay, so moving on. Today's topic is some philosophical thought experiments.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
These are very exciting. There are 15 on this list, and I think we'll get through all of them because I'm not going to go into great detail, I don't think, unless you have a lot to say.
You sure I won't get off on a tangent on one of these?
Maybe. So we might do some of them and then revisit this topic later.
I probably won't. I'll probably want to just get through them because I don't really feel very good today.
You don't?
No.
Okay. So this first one, you and I have talked about before. It is called The Ship of Theseus. Do you remember what this is?
I remember that. I remember the name. I don't remember the Is this the one where you say who lives and who dies?
No.
Oh, okay. Everyone dies on this ship?
No, this isn't. These are not moral dilemmas.
Okay.
These are philosophical thought experiments. There's a difference.
Okay.
Okay. So, and I know I've told you this before, and you probably already knew this. The Ship of Theseus, the main thing of it is, if a ship's parts are to be replaced over time, is it still the same ship? Because what happened was...
if all the ship parts, in other words.
This does not specify whether or not this was an actual ship, and I don't remember if it is or not. But so let's take a theoretical ship, like a sailing ship.
Mm-hmm.
if over the course of 10 years, let's say, you have to replace and repair certain parts of it. And so, you know, you replace whatever part. I'm not going to go into great detail.
Right.
But let's say 10 years after you got it, all of its parts, literally every single piece of the ship has been replaced in some way or another. Is it still the ship that you started with?
Right.
Well,
I don't think it is. I don't
You
think it
don't?
is. No, because it's like, okay, like for instance, some people ship Rapunzel and Flynn Rider from Tangled
this is not
because they were.
no.
Well, let's say all of a sudden you took Rapunzel, replaced her with Elsa.
I started off
And
in a
then you
really great
replaced-
mood. I really did. I came in here with a positive attitude. And if I leave today in a negative attitude and you're saying that was mean and
It's
you
the
should cut that
same
out because that was
concept.
mean,
It's the
I
same
blame
concept.
you.
I don't think it's the same ship. It is. So really what it comes down to is, does the name of the ship define the ship? Or
Oh.
does its composite parts make up the ship? And let's say the only thing remaining of the original ship is like one bolt or one plank of wood.
Sure.
Is it still the same ship?
Well, that's the whole paradox, because the question is whether a ship that has had all of its components replaced throughout time is the same. So because that's the thing, if it's based on the physical attributes of the ship,
Right.
if that's what we're saying it is, then the ship has changed because its physical components have changed. However, if it's the exact dimensions that it was, the whole is the same, but its component parts are different. Is it the same because the whole is still the same? No, you say no.
Well,
You don't know.
well, what if, and okay, let's say you did that over the course of, I don't know, 2 decades. You replaced every part on a ship.
Sure.
Whatever, however many decades. And then you said, we're going to rename this ship something else. We now christen this ship something else. Is it still the same ship? So in other words, not only have you replaced every part of the ship, even though it has the same design, but you've even
It's an
named it
identity
something different.
change. I don't know.
And most importantly, does anyone really care?
Oh, have a great week, everyone.
No.
I think probably not where I first heard of this. I'm sure I heard of this in college at some point, but where I remember recently hearing about this was in WandaVision, which you didn't watch that. It's the Marvel series.
I watched a few episodes of that.
Okay. But spoiler alert, it's been out for, 6 years now. So if you haven't seen it, tough. After Vision dies in Endgame, pretty much a quote unquote white Vision is you see this different form of Vision in WandaVision. So it's not the same Vision because we know that he died. That's his name, Vision. Okay?
Yeah, I know, but it just sounds weird when you say it.
It's not the same one because he died. We saw him die. He did not come back to life. However, he specifically references the ship of Theseus in that episode because he's talking about himself like to a different version of himself, and it's this whole thing. And I feel like it's not. I don't think it's the same thing.
It's not
because
the same one.
And if you take a different example, if you take like a person,
I was thinking
if you replace all my organs, if you replace all my bones and all my muscles and all of that, I'm no longer the same person. You can call me Samantha, but that's not who I am.
Well, here's the weird thing with that, right? Like right now, okay, physically, you at this point, as of today, you can't do that, right? You couldn't replace every physical part of a person, but let's say you could. Okay,
Sure.
Years from now, let's say every physical part you could replace, including the person's brain and everything.
Weird.
But let's say you could like extract their consciousness, which would include all their knowledge and all their experiences.
Still not the same.
You could put it into, I hate to say just a computer, but you could basically extract it off of there. And then you could replace it, or you could download it basically onto another
It's not the
person
same.
or whatever you call
Gosh,
it. How weird would that be?
Well, you say how weird will that be? That's going to happen.
I don't remember
and
the
I don't
name.
want to think about it.
I was listening to another podcast, and I don't remember the specific name of the book he referenced, but in this book, basically what they could do is they would send a robot to another galaxy, maybe, or another solar system.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably getting half this wrong, but
probably
the robot would then build two copies of itself, and they would go off to 2 other planets, right? And then each of those would build 2 copies and go off to other planets. So eventually they would they expand across the entire galaxy, and then eventually, say, the universe. But in this book, he said, like, basically there was a guy who's Bob was the guy's name, and he did that with his own consciousness. He put it into one of these robots. Right,
anyway.
And then maybe the name of the book or something, it was the Bobaverse.
Okay,
because
I hate
Bob
that.
was it's creepy, isn't it?
I think that is super creepy, and I think that's super creepy. I hate thinking about that. While you were talking, I was also thinking about, like, because
do that.
No, because how you started saying that about with your consciousness and all that. And it's not, even if you did that, it's still not you, because your physical body obviously makes up who you are. Like,
right.
you've had injuries, you've had your ankle broken, or you have like a scar on your arm and stuff. Right. Like, that's who you are. And so when I think of it like that, I feel like that's even a better argument for the ship of Theseus not being the same thing, because it's like a ship, it's been through storms, and it's had, scrapes in it and all this.
So what you're saying, though, is a point in time, right? Because as of a given point in time, you have a scar, but it's not necessarily a permanent scar, so it could go away. I think the weirder part would be if you could do that and you had multiple copies of yourself, then it's obviously not
the
you.
Okay.
It's not, you can't have multiple copies of yourself and still be you.
Yet. All right. The second philosophical thought problem thought experiment is actually the trolley problem, which we've already talked about in length. So we are going to skip that.
Uh-huh.
The third one is the allegory of the cave. Do you know what this is?
No, I don't.
I don't know what this is either. This is one of the well-known philosophical thought experiments concerning the nature of reality and knowing/knowledge. Here's the allegory.
Okay.
Imagine a group of people who have spent their entire lives chained up and facing a wall within a cave. I love this already.
Wow.
They can only see the shadows of things that the fire behind them has cast onto the wall. They believe that these shadows are the only reality that exists. If one of the prisoners were forced to turn around and face the fire, then that prisoner would experience a new reality and realize that the shadows were mere illusions. Let's say that the prisoner is now allowed to leave the cave and come in contact with the real world outside. When they encounter the outside world, they would have come across another reality different from the cave and the fire. This is Plato's allegory. Plato's allegory makes us wonder if our perceptions of reality are accurate or only reflections of a more profound underlying truth.
It's so weird. Well, what it comes down to is everyone's reality is based on their experiences.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So everyone's reality is different. Like, if you take someone in Africa who's in a tribe who's never, ever been outside their tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've never seen maybe computers or television or something like that. Their reality is that, right?
Yes.
And what's important to them day to day is all completely based
Everything's
on that.
relative.
Right. And
how many times do I say
Well, here's
this?
the thing. Everyone thinks about something like that, and they think about that person as though they're so, like, undeveloped or whatever you want to say, right? But that's making the assumption that, we're so much better, or we're so developed. And it's like, no, we know what we know only because this is what we've seen.
Yep. Many consider Plato's cave a defense of philosophical inquiry in the quest for knowledge. It implies that we might be able to learn more about ourselves and the world around us by challenging our presumptions and looking for the essence of truth. I always think about philosophers of, that you hear of, like Plato and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't know enough about them. What was their actual job? Because I
How did
feel
they
like
eat? Yes.
if I had time to just sit on a mountain somewhere and just look and just wonder about the world, I would also think of
about
things like
that.
this.
Well, so I guess the question is, were they just from wealthy families, and so they
don't
didn't
know.
have to do anything to survive? Because, you know, it's hard to even imagine back then what a typical person had to do just to eat,
Right.
you know, and to like stay warm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great question. How did these people do this?
I only ask the hard-hitting questions here, okay? Number 4. We're only going to have time for like maybe 6 of
That's
these,
okay.
by the way.
We'll do the rest.
I know,
another
right?
time.
These are nice. Okay. Also, obviously, we would love all of your opinions on these, and if you agree or disagree, and why.
It probably would be good if we only do a smaller number because I'm not feeling very well today.
You're not?
No.
4.
I think I have a cold. I might have a COVID. Go ahead.
The Chinese room. Do you know what this is?
I mean, I'm assuming it's to do with China.
A non-Chinese speaking person is locked in a room with a book filled with Chinese symbols and a set of instructions for manipulating the symbols. A person from outside passes a note to him written in Chinese. The person inside the room responds to the note as per the regulations before passing the note back to the person outside. It may appear that the person inside the room may understand Chinese to the person receiving the note outside. However, the individual within the room only follows instructions. They do not genuinely understand the significance of the messages they are responding to. Do you see where I'm going with this? This experiment presents an interesting understanding of the nature of consciousness, artificial intelligence, and whether a machine can truly understand language like a human can.
You know, it's funny because that is exactly what I was thinking, right? It's like the black box kind of deal. And the weird thing is, we still don't know exactly how AI does what it does.
That's terrifying.
But as it gets quote unquote smarter, right? It's at what point do you say, well, I guess it's conscious? I mean, it's not going to tell you it's conscious because we basically, I don't know. Is it not? Am I conscious? I don't know. I think I am. But if you tell me I'm not,
I don't think
then maybe I'm not. I may not be. Maybe I'm just saying I'm conscious. That's the thing. You can't get inside someone else's head. You literally cannot do it.
No,
so
you
can tell me, yes, I'm conscious. Obviously, I'm right here, blah, blah, blah. But like, I can't be inside your head.
I know. And I think because when we talk about stuff like that, it makes me think of I maybe this is actually on this list, the thing where it's like, are we living in a simulation? And the simulation just creates what, or like one of us, let's say you're the main character.
Right.
You're like the only real person or like the only real thing.
Everyone else is just
Everyone
simulated.
else is simulated, and it's wherever you look, immediately something is simulated. So the world around you doesn't even exist like until you look at it, and then it's simulated and created for you, and then you turn around and it goes back to nothing.
But you just said something. You said simulated or created
I were the real,
for you.
If I were the real, let's say if you were the real, I don't know, the one.
The only one?
The only one.
Yeah.
There's nothing on like behind you right now.
Right.
It's like a grid.
Until
a
I
blank
turn around
grid,
and
until
then I
you turn around.
But if I'm the only one,
yeah,
right? If I'm the only actual conscious person or whatever, then am I creating the simulation? Like,
no, it's
is
being
it my
created
mind
for you?
Okay, so it's created
You are
by
in the simulation.
But who creates the simulation? Then,
it's
right?
like the Truman Show, kind
is
of.
That,
you know?
Is that well? Yeah, exactly. Is that kind of like
I'm sweating
God's
right
creating
now.
this? So it's instead of creating like Adam and Eve, God really only created Adam, and everything else is a simulation. That would be weird.
So all of us are just a simulation.
No, I'm Adam.
Gosh.
Why did he give me a cold?
You
Because
know
here's
what?
the thing. I wouldn't if it was me and me in my mind creating the simulation.
It was me.
I
and
would
me.
not. No, people make me mad all the time.
I know.
And I wouldn't do that.
No,
I'd
so
have
it's
them.
not you. That's what I said.
Okay.
It's not you
I just
creating the
wanna clear that up.
simulation.
Yeah.
Oh, cloud just ran by the window. All right.
Okay.
Number 5. This is our final
Okay.
thought experiment of the day. It is called, how do I even pronounce this? Buridin?
Spell it.
Buridin.
Okay.
Buridin. What do we like?
Baridin.
Baridin. Okay,
I
great.
don't know, whatever.
Baridin. This one is called Baridin's ass. The paradox. Oh wait, where are we? It refers to a situation where a donkey.
Okay.
It's a donkey, everyone.
Okay.
Where a donkey, equally hungry and equally thirsty, is placed at the center of a stack of hay and a pail of water. Both of them are equidistant from the donkey. Which one does it choose first? The paradox claims that since the donkey cannot choose between water or hay, it dies of hunger. But there are other versions of this story. Instead of water and hay, 2 equally sized piles of hay are placed at equidistance from the donkey instead of water and hay. The result, the donkey dies. I don't understand that part.
This is the weird one because, like, I mean, this is why it's a donkey. God, it's too dumb to, like.
It's supposed to illustrate the concept of free will. And so it's saying, but then it says, is it as simple as that?
This is
Probably
literally
not.
me.
The donkey,
I just realized this is me.
The donkey may eat first and drink later, or drink first and eat later and then drink again.
But I get paralyzed sometimes making a decision because I'm like, should I do this or should I do this? And I spend so much time when really it doesn't matter. He could go to either one. I mean, my thought would be go get a drink first because if your mouth and all is really dry, you might choke on the hay.
You can also go longer without food than you can without water.
But well, that's true. That's true.
Go for the water.
But I know if you're really hungry, maybe you go to the hay first. I don't know.
In On the Heavens, Aristotle writes, quote, "A man being just as hungry as thirsty and placed between food and drink must necessarily remain where he is and starve to death."
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand this.
Who said that?
Aristotle.
I don't know. I've just lost a lot of respect for Aristotle.
No, but the whole point again is about free will, and like you said, when you're in, like how you said you can relate to it. It's just it's
yeah.
explaining.
It's what's the word when you become frozen, when you become paralyzed, you're basically
with choice.
Yeah, when you can't make a decision.
Well,
This week in history.
Where are we, Jim?
Are we going to do the history thing next?
That's right. Welcome to This Week in History. Please pass me the history for this week.
The questionable, possibly inaccurate source.
1964. Sydney, I really feel like I knew how to pronounce this name at one point. Sydney Poitier.
Yeah, that's right.
Becomes first African-American to win Best Actor award. Do you know what he won it for?
Because it was like... No, I don't. It wasn't like Who's Coming to Dinner or something. Or there's a different. He was in that, I think. But there. It was
a 1963 film.
I can't think of the name. You're gonna say it, and I'm gonna know it.
Lilies of the Field.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
And in 1992, he also became the first African American to win the Life Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. That's fun.
Wow, that's impressive because he won the Life Achievement Award, and he's like, "Nope, I can do better." And then. Following year or whatever he won.
What?
Well, the 1964 he won.
No, in 1963. He won in 64 for the 1963 film.
Right. He won in 64, but it was 2 years earlier he won the Life Achievement Award.
No, 92.
Oh, 92. Oh, I take that back.
Maybe
then.
I said that incorrectly. I'm not sure.
You probably may. I don't know.
You're sick. In case the viewers didn't know, he's under the weather today.
A little.
In 1775, First Abolition Society starts in Philadelphia. It was Quaker and abolitionist Anthony Benezet founded America's first anti-slavery society. See, Philadelphia.
I heard this, and I don't know it's true. That's cool. But I heard that only 1-point-something% of Americans owned slaves.
I've never heard that.
Now, maybe the other 98 point whatever % were slaves. I hope not. But
Today is tax day, so I hope all of you did your taxes or
maybe it wasn't
put an
1 point. Maybe it was only 1 point whatever of black people were actually slaves. I don't know. Anyway, go
or
ahead.
put an extension or asked or requested an extension if
Got
you did
mine
not.
done yesterday.
Today is taxes. In 1912, unsinkable Molly Brown survives the Titanic shipwreck and saves others. Earned her moniker when she survived the Titanic shipwreck and saved others from drowning. Brown was aboard the Titanic to travel to the United States from Europe after hearing her grandson had taken ill. She was extremely intelligent. She studied both language and literature at the Carnegie Institute, and during the tragedy, she was able to assist more people due to her fluency in multiple languages.
Plus, she said, I don't want to understand a one of you. That's your men out there.
Nice. She made it. Oh, now you made me lose where I was. She made it onto one of the ship's lifeboats and was later recovered by the... Do you know what ship saved the Titanic?
Was that the Lusitania? No. That was the sister ship. It was the... I know it. Whatever. Go ahead.
Carpathia.
Yes, that was it.
Aboard the Carpathia, Brown did whatever she could to help the other survivors, including raising money from the wealthier passengers to assist the poorer passengers. Wow. Good for her. I love that. I didn't know that.
That was for the ones that survived, right? Because the wealthier passengers during the Titanic sinking, getting money. He wasn't going around collecting money while the ship was sinking, right?
No, I did.
Okay, that wouldn't
Were
do any
you
good.
listening? You would have heard. No, okay, great. Well, listeners, if you were listening, you understood what I said.
It's hard for me to concentrate.
1943, chemist discovers hallucinogenic effects of LSD.
1943.
Albert Hoffman, a Swiss chemist working at the Sandoz Pharmaceutical Research Laboratory, accidentally consumed LSD-25, a synthetic drug he had created in 1938 as part of his research into the medicinal value of lysergic acid compounds. And he had unusual sensations and hallucinations. He intentionally took the drug again to confirm and published a report announcing his discovery. Great. Good for him.
I was thinking different. I'm not going to comment.
Okay. 1961. United States authorizes Bay of Pigs invasion.
Cuba. Yeah.
Yes. A CIA financed and trained group of Cuban refugees landed in Cuba and attempted to topple the communist government of Fidel Castro. What happened?
It wasn't good.
The rebels immediately came under fire, and 2 days later, a rebel air attack was also defeated. Almost 1,200 rebels surrendered and were held as prisoners.
Yeah, it was kind of an embarrassment.
That's actually really rough. JFK authorized the invasion under the guise of an uprising by anti-Castro Cubans. Ooh, that's rough. Friday is Good Friday. 1956, Grace Kelly marries Prince Rainier. I don't care, so I'm skipping ahead. And Saturday, 1971, Vietnam War veterans demonstrate against the war. Operation Dewey Canyon 3, a 5-day demonstration by veterans against the Vietnam War, began in Washington, D.C. The demonstration ended when the protesters tried to block access to government buildings and an army of police officers intervened.
Yeah, I was too young to really pay attention to any of that. I had better things to do.
Listener feedback, yeah.
Listener feedback. Yeah. Okay. Someone commented from last week's episode. Samantha said about how, quote, they casted the perfect people, and Jim tried to correct her but said, quote, the plural of cast is cast.
I know.
And Samantha didn't notice that mistake either.
I
Samantha,
can't believe I said that.
Samantha, your title of grammar queen is in doubt at this point.
This is your chance
Makes
to
me really
retake
sad.
the crown.
The only thing I have to say, I won't defend myself. I've made a grave mistake. Multiple grave mistakes, which is embarrassing. I agree. But today's Merriam-Webster word of the day is druthers. And that's exciting. That's all I have to say. A comment, the top 5, this person's top 5 shows of all time. 1, Boy Meets World. That is the correct answer. 2, The Wonder Years. 3, The Twilight Zone. How did we forget about The Twilight Zone? I'm so
Cannot
embarrassed.
believe, yes. And I knew that was going to happen. I knew there were going to be, we would literally have to have a list of all the shows that were even, I don't know, marginally popular to
Right.
look through them and decide. Twilight Zone to me is definitely up there. It's for its time and just the way it was done and everything. It was like,
I also feel like, I mean, I love Twilight Zone, so I completely agree with that. I also feel like they're probably my favorite show of all time. I probably haven't watched yet. Like, there are just so many shows, and I'll get around to them, one day or whatever. But like, there are so many good shows that I just have not seen.
Yep.
Number 4.
One of my favorite shows.
What?
The Truman Show.
Number 4, The Office. Also, how do we forget about that?
Did we not talk about it at the time? Did we not?
I don't remember talking about The Office. Did we? Great show.
I think, but maybe
we didn't
talk
about
because
it.
It's surprising that we didn't.
And 5, Forensic Files. Wrong. And the comment says, The Twilight Zone has a ton of episodes that are total duds, but there's also a ton that just blow your mind. And the fact it's from the 50s just makes it that much more impressive. I don't think anything will ever beat Boy Meets World, but watching The Wonder Years in its entirety is a really satisfying experience. It really is so good.
Yeah, and when we talked about it, almost makes me want to watch that. The Twilight Zone, though, I'll say this. There are some that are not as good as others, and there are some, to call them duds, I think is kind of strong. I think they're better episodes.
Yeah.
Like The Obsolete Man is one. What's the one with the guy that breaks his glass? The time,
I know.
There was time or
I don't
no,
remember what that's
I don't think that's the name of the
called.
episode. But The Obsolete Man, I think, is really good. The one
I always liked the
Oh,
one. What?
To serve man.
That one's so weird.
But it's good.
I always liked the one. I can't. Okay, the one with the guy where he breaks his glasses right when he gets to the library, and then he's blind and can't see. That one just makes me so sad that I can't even enjoy it just because of how. Are you crying?
There are tissues right here.
Okay. That one just makes me sad. The other one that comes to mind for me is the one that you were just talking about. Is that the one where he's on the planet and he's in the room? Hold on. There are 2 that I'm thinking of, because there's the one where he's in the room and he thinks that like he's home or something, and then he looks out, or he doesn't look outside because it's a mirror. Yes, all the aliens are like looking at him from the outside.
I don't remember the name of that one.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good one too.
And then the other one that always comes to mind is the one where I can't remember if it's a man or a woman that they're at the bus station. And they keep like missing the bus or something.
Yeah, there's something weird with that. I don't remember.
Something weird with the bus.
The other one, the one with William Shatner, where there's a man on the wing.
I haven't seen that one.
You have not seen that one? That's like a classic.
I've only seen like 2 seasons of the show.
That's a classic. We should actually just start watching them from the first episode. You know the funny thing? What? I just thought of this, and it's because we talked about this in the beginning. So many of the episodes are based on someone's reality being different.
Stop.
Right? It's like it feeds
so
right into
weird.
that. It's like their reality all of a sudden is flipped around, and it's like it's like a mirror, or looking at it from the outside, and it's completely different than what they think it is.
Yep. Yeah, that's so crazy. That's what I agree. I don't really think there are any of the episodes that I would consider duds, quote unquote, just because at the end of every one of those episodes I've ever watched, I'm always left, like, even in the ones that are subpar, maybe, I'm always left thinking, like, ooh, that's so weird. What if?
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah.
Have you
and
seen?
I think the ones that aren't as good are a part of it is because some of them are so good.
Yes.
That it just makes the other ones seem maybe like
now I'm just trying to think of all the ones I've seen. There's the one, I don't even remember what happens in this one, but it's a guy or a woman in a department store.
Oh, the mannequin one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one where they are like a mannequin or something.
Yeah.
Or by the end they turn into a mannequin.
Yeah, each of the mannequins gets for a month.
Oh,
they get to go in the real world, and then and then they have to come back. And she forgot she was a mannequin.
Oh my god!
So she didn't go. And they had to basically trick her to go up to a floor that quote unquote doesn't exist.
Why am I tearing up? Okay. Anyway,
It is. It's so creepy.
That's enough of that. Those are all the comments we have. If you guys could step it up and start leaving more comments, that would be so great because I'm very disappointed in all of you. All right, moving on to what?
Well, and now since I have a different phone, right? Because we didn't talk about that, but I switched back to Android.
Why would we talk about that?
No, the only reason
the
I bring
people
it up
don't care.
Now I'm gonna listen on Pandora instead of Apple Podcasts because I'm not on Apple phone. Does Apple still?
People don't care.
This sounds weird, but does Apple have a version of Apple Podcasts on Android?
No. Why would they?
I don't know.
You have Apple versions of things and you have Android versions of things.
I know.
That's the way it works.
Okay, go ahead.
Moving on to...
If you have grievances, and I'm sure you have.
The grievances.
Okay. Oh, no.
Do you actually... I think No, hold on. Let me find the list.
I do.
Because I'm... Oh, okay. Well, go ahead then.
No, just because what I was just talking about, I'm all for like free markets, open markets and all that stuff. And what do you call it? The marketplace. But I hate the way Apple with their iPhone has just locked it down so much to the point of anti-competitiveness. And that's the reason that I switched. I just couldn't, I was just so frustrated with it. Like that you couldn't just, I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast or we were just talking about it, but you couldn't say, well, you couldn't just say, okay, for my mapping application, I want to use Google Maps. They purposely don't allow flexibility, and they're not the only ones. They're not the only ones.
Are you entirely sure you tried to do that? Because I remember in the beginning with iPhones, you could delete and
you could delete. You could delete Apple Maps, but the problem is most apps, not all of them, most apps, when you click on a link, like in the email, in your mail, right? It will automatically go to Apple Maps, and it's like, oh, you don't have it installed. Do you want to install it?
I swear,
it's like, it's just so frustrating.
That's a setting that you can change.
I did. I looked it up. I looked it up, and no, really. And the other thing, and they just,
I don't know.
Well, you know how they had for the longest time, they had their power connector was that. It's different, right? It wasn't a USB-C. Now, with the newer models, it's USB-C, and the only reason is because the European Union won an antitrust lawsuit, so it forced Apple to switch that. They could have kept it different in the U.S., but it wouldn't have made sense. It would have cost them more money. But they did that specifically so they could make royalties on all these cables that people had to buy.
All right.
So that kind of stuff bugs me.
That was
I said, not just Apple.
That was a very intelligent and well thought out complaint.
Okay.
On to my complaint.
Okay.
Destination weddings. What are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
Who was ever like, oh, I have to spend money and take more vacation time than I would have and buy a plane to Fiji so that my friend can get married in a tropical locale?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Don't do it. Destination weddings are so selfish. And
that's what I was going to say.
Unless you're just having like literally the smallest group, maybe like 10 people or something.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, obviously you guys are all super close and you want it to be a small thing. Fine. Even then, though, I don't support it.
Well, because, right?
There's no need.
Because let's say you have a group of close friends and you're telling them you're going to do this. So you're immediately forcing them to spend all this money.
Exactly.
When maybe they don't want to.
And let's be so real. Weddings, having been a part of multiple weddings at this point in my life, are expensive enough as is.
Yeah.
You have, like I said, you got to take the time off work. Usually, even if it's not a destination wedding, it's still a little bit of a drive or, whatever. So that's annoying. You have to buy something for the couple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you put so much time and money.
And if you're in a wedding party, then you have all the time you have to spend.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just it's selfish. Am I wrong?
No. And here's the thing I don't get too, right? People spend so much money on weddings, and it's like at the worst possible time because you have people that are just the quote unquote starting out in life in most cases, right? When they really could use this money for a down payment for a house
Well,
or whatever.
What I was going to say was that instead of doing a destination wedding, you just do a smaller wedding, and then you spend that money on the honeymoon because
Right.
you're going somewhere anyway, probably.
Right.
So I was going to say that. But yes, the responsible thing to do would be to just save the money altogether and
Right.
get a house in this
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? It's like on one hand, yeah, and I get people complaining about how expensive houses are and how is anyone supposed to be able to afford this. But on the other hand, people are still spending like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a wedding.
Absurd.
It's like
Absurd.
Yep.
And it's also crazy because anytime, I mean, I don't watch it anymore. I used to, Mom used to watch 4 weddings all the time, and I was just a victim. I was in the room. I had to watch it. And those, I would always, and if you're on that show, you're already spending a lot of money, probably, odds are. But a lot of, even the ones that were like, we're on a budget and this is going to be a smaller wedding, those were still always like,
they were
25,000 or
crazy.
something.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the budget? But I remember watching that and then seeing the actual wedding, and you're not there. You just see the video and the clips and all that. And I'm like, you spent $25,000 for this?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even look like you did.
Yeah.
What a waste.
All those shows, because they're reality shows, right?
I know.
But they specifically remind me of those Sweet 16.
How dare
was
you?
it on MTV or whatever?
How dare
where they have
you?
the Sweet 16 thing, and they're giving the kid a car or whatever, and it's like these people are either, well, put it this way, the kid is spoiled, right?
You're right. Children should have to suffer. They should not be given things to help them in life. They should have to suffer and figure it out on their own.
Happiness and harmony.
Have a great week, everyone. Don't have a destination wedding. And if you do, don't invite me. I'm not going.
What if people had destination funerals? That would be weird.
What? What is this? Oh. What is this? Oh. What is the? Oh.